Welcome to the Ultimate Chrono Odyssey Guide. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing a handful of tips and tricks to make your overall gameplay experience in this game not only more enjoyable, but also much more efficient. I'm going to be highlighting tips and tricks that will not only allow you to maximize the power of your character, but also make sure you are fully aware of the many different systems and options you have while playing this game to get the most out of it. So again, this is labeled a beginner's guide. However, even if you consider yourself an expert already in this game, I guarantee you there's a lot to learn. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first tip, which is regarding the first Chrono Gate boss that you'll encounter. Typically, when you encounter this first boss, you'll be level 3 or 4 and you're going to have a bad time. If you are a ranger or a class with a ranged weapon like the musket and the assassin, then you will be able to defeat him simply by kiting and attacking from a distance, but it will take you a while. If you are melee, you typically will die unless you honestly are amazing at this game, and that's okay. I highly recommend that you just leave the area and start killing some mobs, doing some side quests, and leveling up, and also getting a full set of level 5 gear, and then going back to that first Chrono Gate boss. By that time, you will not only have a better feel of the overall combat, but you'll have exactly what you need to dish off tons and tons of damage and melt this boss. You'll save yourself probably hours of time too if you just try to rinse and repeat it, and it will just make your life a whole lot easier. One thing I do want to call out too is that we do have an in-depth guide on every single Chrono Gate boss. If you just click the link in the top right corner, that's going to showcase not only tips and tricks on defeating each of these, but also the location and what you have to do to actually defeat them. This next tip is regarding something you should do as soon as you make it to the first town, and that's walking over to this NPC right here and then purchasing one of every basic tool available. This will allow you to actually interact with the resource nodes as you explore the land of Cetera and start gathering some resources you need to craft better gears and tools themselves. I also highly recommend you buy a big stack of these potions. This will not only help you take down larger bosses a whole lot easier, but also just increase your survivability as you grind out, kill mobs, and level up. Now, as you actually explore the land of Cetera and start doing some quests here and there, or just gathering resources, there are a few specific resources I wanted to call out. I'm going to quickly show my map right here. You can see where I'm at there. And this is a prime spot for one of the most sought after resources, which is titanium ore. Titanium ore is going to be one of the primary resources you need to craft level 15 gear and weapons. So if you ever come across this specific type of ore, be sure to slow down, mine it, and then continue on, because it will definitely be useful down the road. On top of this, you also want to make sure you gather some iron ore. Specifically, I think you need at least like 8 iron ore in order to create a full set, depending on if you want to go light, medium, or heavy. But again, for your level 5 set, you're going to want to make sure you pick up all the iron ore you can as well as you're just running around. And on top of that, there are 2 other key ingredients I wanted to kind of call out. The first one is herbs. It looks like these green plants here. And then the second one are wild berries. And these essentially look like just bushes with red dots on them. Pretty self-explanatory. But if you ever come across these, make sure you gather them. And that's because they are the key ingredient to craft these uncommon health potions and even common health potions. These are basically the secret ingredient that you need for surviving huge battles in the open world. So again, make sure you gather those herbs and wild berries. It's just going to save you a ton of time long term. Next up, I want to talk about bounties. So in Chrono Odyssey, you're going to see this notice board here in each town where you can essentially accept different bounties, where you search for a specific target, take them down, and then reap the rewards. You can either do this solo or with a group of friends if you're struggling, but I highly recommend that you actually do every single bounty available as you level up. It will not only give you some great experience, but it will also give you some unique currency when you actually turn in the bounty rewards for each one. So to be a little bit more specific, you'll be able to pick up some bounty tokens, which you can then repurpose to get some level 15 purple quality jewelry or some very sought after resources. You will have enough resources to buy everything in the shop if you wanted to, but again, you might want to be a little bit cautious on what you pick and choose because down the road there likely will be more options to purchase with those tokens. Next up, as you explore the world, you're going to be coming across mobs known as elite mobs. You can see right there, this mob essentially has two names. Make sure you defeat these as soon as you see them because they'll drop equipment and also these purple keys. The reason you want these purple keys is because it allows you to actually access these large blue glowing things right here, known as time portals. Time portals are amazing, not only for experience, but also a handful of very, very sought after resources and items. As you actually enter these time portals, you can get armor jewels, which are extremely helpful for your mastery skills, ancestral set designs, which are sought after level 15 gear, some level 15 jewelry, which is great as well, and of course, primitive iron ore. It will tell you that you have to be in a party in order to enter these, but don't worry, you can just go to your social tab and create a party by yourself, and then it will actually allow you to enter it. Once you're inside, you essentially have to interact with 4 of these different pillars, which will turn these 4 mobs back to life, and then you just rinse and repeat, destroy them, and move on to the next one. And then there's going to be a final boss at the end of it. However, one thing I do want to call out is that you're going to see these different tentacle mobs too, near a stack of dead bodies. This is typically where the primitive iron ore will be. You want to make sure you actually go out of your way and mine all of this every time you actually enter one of these time portals. This is one of the key ingredients to craft level 15 ancestral gear, which is some of the best stuff available in the game once you're actually level 15. You can also access this ore by defeating this open world golem boss. Go ahead and check the link in the description for a little bit more of a deeper dive on how to farm this very, very fast and efficiently. There's actually one other key ingredient if you want to craft that level 15 ancestral gear I mentioned, and that is void matter. In order to actually get your hands on void matter, you're going to have to locate these large glowing domes known as a void nexus in the open world. Within these domes, you're going to have a handful of corrupted like mobs that are actually pretty powerful. So I do recommend that you get in here in a group of at least 4 or 5 people. I was able to do it in a group of 3, but it was a long, brutal fight. As you defeat these different mobs within this dome, there's a small chance that they're actually going to drop gold, a few items and equipment, and of course, void matter. So I'll show you real quick. We'll defeat one of these mobs. You can see it actually allowed me to pick up some void matter, which is, again, one of the key ingredients you need. At the end of the void nexus, you'll face this large named mob, and once you take him down, you have a chance of more void matter or even some upgrades, whether it's gear or weapons, like I did right here. Real friendly reminder, if you enjoyed this video or learned something so far, consider liking and subscribing. I've got a lot more Chrono Odyssey content coming up. Okay, next up, let's talk about perks. So chances are you might have a handful of great weapons or armor, and you're just really trying to finalize the best perks for these weapons and armor pieces. And what I highly recommend is that you actually go through and do this next activity. I'm showing some of these perks right now, and they're honestly insane. It's night and day once you actually get these perks on your weapon gear. So I highly recommend that once you're level 15 or so, you follow these activities and actually get it as part of your build. You're going to want to go into your map and come over to this area right here. It's right above the Arisen Ruins and east of this bound stone right here. And I'm going to show you what you actually have to do. I'll zoom out real quick too, because again, this is very, very important. When you walk up here, you're going to see an NPC and you're going to be able to purchase one of these trial keys. You're going to want to make sure you actually purchase this because this will allow you to enter it and pick up some unique currency to purchase the other items in this NPC store. Once you're actually inside, you're going to have the option to select from 4 different doors. Each door is going to have a different challenge for you to kind of complete. They could be a handful of mimics like this, or even like in-depth mobs and bosses to defeat. Again, each one is a little bit different, but at the end of it, you're going to find a treasure chest, which will give you some gold, likely a recipe, and this unique currency that you need. Here's a quick example of another door. This one actually had a dragon and a handful of mobs, but again, at the end of it, you're going to get your hands on some more of this currency. Once you actually get a lot of this currency, you can pick up one of every single piece of armor that's offered in this NPC store. Plus, you do have some elixirs up there, which are permanent stat boosts. So I would recommend getting those permanent elixirs first, and then buying one of each of these pieces of armor. The main reason, again, that you're purchasing one of each piece of armor, again, you don't need like 2 chests, you just need one, is primarily because you want to get your hands on those different perks. Each of these items have a unique trial perk associated with it. I bought a ton, but again, you only need one. And that's because you can actually transfer the attributes of these to a different piece of equipment. So for example, I'm transferring this level 5 perk to my level 15 blue chest, and it's just going to power up my character like crazy. If you want to get even more power, you can actually enchant this gear right in town. Once you actually enchant it a few times, you'll actually pick up a few different passives too. So I believe it's right at level 5, you actually pick up another skill on a weapon, but you can keep upgrading it and enchanting it up until +7. For level 15 gear, I don't recommend going all the way up to +7 because, as you can tell in the lower left corner, as we upgrade certain pieces of items, let's just go ahead and upgrade this a few times, the amount of ingredients changes a little bit, and you're going to need eternal hearts. So right at +5, I gained that other perk. You can see right there, Vital Strike on the right side, but it cost me eternal hearts. As you enchant your gear, you're going to need more and more of these eternal hearts. So my next tip is actually going to be showcasing how you can farm these very, very easily. And that's going back to the general area where you actually started this game and probably came across a massive dragon. So here's the map. I'm just east of that First Breath coast right there. I'll zoom out to give you a better look. But eventually this large red dragon will spawn. If you take down this dragon, you will get a eternal heart. I've probably defeated this dragon like 25 to 30 times, and every single time I defeated it, I got some gold and a eternal heart. So again, I highly recommend that you just take an hour or two and just rinse and repeat grinding this dragon, because it will give you all of the eternal hearts you need to enchant every piece of equipment and weapon that you need to actually enchant. So again, let's go ahead and defeat this, and you'll see right there, I got the eternal heart and even some currency to do some more enchanting myself. Plus, there's this body right here that typically just auto respawns with some more gold. But yeah, after you kill it once, jump back on the hill and just wait for it to respawn after a few minutes. Very, very easy. Next up, I want to call out these different labyrinths, right? So this is essentially a handful of solo challenges that you'll encounter, and typically it's some sort of a puzzle. But by the end of the puzzle, if you complete it, you'll get a handful of rewards. First things first, by completing the actual challenge, you will get enhancement points, which will enhance the overall power of your summons. However, hidden within each of these labyrinth challenges will be a treasure chest. You'll see one right here, and you want to make sure that you capture and get every single treasure chest for every single solo dungeon that you encounter. And that's because each of these treasure chests will contain a unique elixir that permanently increases a specific attribute for your character. So example, I got the elixir of strength. If I consume that, my strength will permanently increase for this character, and it's very, very important. Speaking of consumables, it's also very important to understand how consumables work with each other. For example, we have this nectar right here. It gives me a temporary increase in HP, but also grants me +3 in a handful of attributes. If I actually consume it, you'll see there's kind of like the health regen on the left, and the 30-minute timer is set for that more of a attribute bonus. If I consume a different type of nectar, I can see the temporary boost right there, and then the permanent, well, not permanent, but the 30-minute timer start right there. I can continue to stack different consumables on top of each other and have all of these different attributes and bonuses stack up on top of each other. If you're ever entering a hardcore PvP situation or trying to take down a Chrono Gate boss that you're having a hard time with, take a look at some of your consumables, do some cooking, and start stacking all of these as much as possible. Again, this will be night and day if you actually have a handful of these different bonuses and buffs stacked on top of each other, and you will just be able to prepare yourself for certain situations if you need to. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit more about the Chronotector abilities. You can tell from the arrow, the Chronotector ability that it's currently set to is Summon, and it's towards the bottom central portion of my screen. Once I actually use it, I have a very, very long cooldown, and it seems like so many people just set it to Summon, which is probably one of the strongest Chronotector abilities out there, and then they just kind of continue doing their thing and fighting whatever they're fighting. However, you can just take advantage of all 5 of the different abilities in combat. They do not share a specific cooldown, and you can swap between the different abilities mid combat. So, for example, I can use Summon, and then I can swap over to the Time Travel ability and gain some health and just utilize that in the fight as well. So, again, I do want to call this out, and just to kind of give you a closer look at some of the different abilities, I'm going to flash them on my screen now. First up, we have temporal tuning. You do not have to worry about this Chronotector ability when it comes to combat. It more so helps you with quests and side quests. It helps you kind of identify objects or footprints that can help you lead you to whatever your objective is. But again, don't stress about this one when it comes to actual combat and using it mid combat. Next up, though, we have Summon, which is probably the most effective and most widely used Chronotector ability. You will want to be able to utilize this mid combat, especially when it comes to large boss battles and things like that. Plus, you can unlock more and more summons after you defeat more and more of the Chrono Gate bosses. Next up, we have the temporal resistance. This one grants you kind of like slow fall and just makes you jump a little bit higher. There are upgrades down the road where this might be beneficial mid combat, but when it comes to typical combat here and there, I wouldn't stress too much about that one. Just when you compare it to the next one, which is temporal isolation. Temporal isolation is actually very, very helpful, and that's because it will actually freeze the enemies you're fighting in place, allowing you to use basic attacks or certain skills and abilities, or even another Chronotector ability while they're frozen. However, it is important to note that this doesn't seem to work with certain large enemies or like large bosses, and even some of the Chrono Gate bosses. So view this as kind of like a potential add on to use mid combat based on what your actual opponent is. And last but certainly not least, we have time reversal. In most battles, you should 100% be using both summon and time reversal mid combat to just increase your overall damage output and survivability. Time reversal allows you to use the skill and then it resets you to exactly when you used it, which is approximately 10 seconds afterwards, and also puts you back into the position where your health originally was. So again, if you're going up to a major boss, you use time reversal, start dishing off damage, your health gets low, back up a little bit, and then at the end of that timer, it puts you exactly where you were when you used it with all the health you had. So again, very, very useful when it comes to combat. And that covers it. I hope you guys found these tips and tricks and the overall beginner's guide itself extremely helpful in your adventures in Chrono Odyssey. If you did, or even if you learned something, consider hitting that like button, subscribing for the channel, and also even sharing it to a friend if it might make their lives a little bit easier when playing this too. Thanks again for watching, and I will be having some more Chrono Odyssey content coming very, very soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.